It's the Brad and John Show.
You know, John, there are days, by the way, this is December 18th. This is December 18th, 2024. This is C Block, which means we started about 7:40, but we're a little bit late this morning, 7:45. There are days in my life where I don't wish my life on anyone else. I mean, the high point of my day yesterday was going to Jefferson City and the DOR. The low point was every other thing. And it was just one of those miserable days where one bad thing after another kept happening, and had lunch with someone involving some really, really sad news, which really brought me down. And it's just one of those things I'm thinking to myself, God, this is so screwy. You know, I'm at that age where I'm 89. You know, I should have retired 25 years ago, 24 years ago. I can be sitting on the beach someplace in West Palm, you know, drinking a Mai Tai right now. But instead, what am I doing? I'm torturing myself on a daily basis. Why do I do it, John?
Well, here's why. Because I think that you don't. There's two reasons. I think that deep down, you don't think that you deserve to have a peaceful retirement. And I think also that spending some time away, like if you had a place in West Palm and you had time to sit with your thoughts, I think you would drive yourself crazy. And I think you're honest when you say that you don't want to be one of those retiring people that sits around, because I don't think you can sit still, and I don't think you can sit with your thoughts. And I think that you would rather be at a place at your age where you're slaving away and working hard and this close to the big hit, rather than saying, okay, what can I do to just put myself in a comfortable place in the sunset of my life? That's why.
This is therapy radio, by the way.
Yeah, and Brad, and all of that is a compliment, too. There's some people that just want to retire so that they can sit around and be slovenly. And I think that you could never do that. And you're too creative of a guy to just sit there on the beach and read a book and have a nice dinner.
Well, I saw my mom and dad, both very well educated. My mom and dad both went to Washington University, your alma mater as well too. And my mom and dad became, even more educated through the years. My mom went on to get a second bachelor's degree and a master's degree. My dad, we lost track how many degrees he had because he worked at SIU Edwardsville. And I mean, once again, he was an engineer, and normally there's the left brain, right brain thing, and I'm so whichever those brains are, I'm so whatever those in that I can't remember which one's which. One of them's creative, one of them's like, very fact-based and engineering and stuff like that. But I saw my mom and dad just go off the deep end after they retired. And I really do believe, and I've heard doctors tell the story. Matter of fact, I read an interesting story and actually watched this guy on a YouTube video, and he likened the human brain to a muscle. And if you don't exercise it, it atrophies. And I do believe that. And I think there's a lot of things that have come out recently about people talking about, once again, one of my attorney friends, she made the comment to me. She said on a daily basis, she deals with several attorneys who are 70 plus. And she says when she says 70 plus, there are a lot of them that fall into the 80 plus category. And they're sharp as a tack. Now, why is that? A lot of it has to do with, genetics and things like that. But part of it has to do with the fact that they're thinking every day. The practice of law takes a lot of gray matter. And there's a lot of intricacies. And you don't just think, okay, do I go left or go right? Not that kind of stuff. But I hated to see my mom and dad, both very well educated, and sort of turn into like, I don't know, hey, what are we going to do today? I don't know. Let's go over to Scott Air Force Base. Okay, fine. My dad was retired Army, so he had base privilege at Scott Air Force Base. And their favorite thing would do, they'd go over to Scott Air Force Base. That's where his doctors were. And they'd go over to eat lunch over there. And I'm thinking to myself, and here's something, I'll admit this. They invited me several times. I never went. I think to myself, God, that was stupid of me. I should have gone at least once or twice. But to me, that was like torture. I didn't want to go to Scott Air Force Base and have lunch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from, in the example you give, Brad, another reason why you couldn't just sit around is because you feel like in the course of a day, most people that are driven feel like they have a purpose. You have several purposes. And I give you a hard time sometimes about having multiple purposes. But if you don't have a purpose and you retire, and if your purpose is, let's go eat lunch somewhere today, what incentive do you have to get out of bed?
Well, you don't. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
And see, I heard this One of my favorite things I used to do, and people laugh at me when I say this, I don't know if they still even do this anymore, used to be able to turn on all the TV stations on Sunday morning and all the preachers who would buy the airtime. You have Jimmy Swigert and Jim and Tammy Faye, and then you had one of my favorites was Creflo Dollar, this very charismatic guy out of Atlanta. And there was this one guy, one morning he gave the sermon about retirement is a sin. And I went, what? And I heard this. I thought, this guy's talking my language. And one of the things he said, do you think that one day Jesus would wake up and go, no, don't do this anymore. I'm just going to retire. I'm just not going to do any more miracles. I'm not going to help any people. And I'm not going to save Mary Magdalene. I'm just going to retire. And the point being, he says, you cannot find the word retire or retirement in the Bible. I thought to myself, interesting. Now, back in the day, if you lived to 35, you were an old man. 40 for a woman, you know what I'm saying? I get that. But I don't know. And like, it drives me nuts. I've talked about this before, maybe too many times. Del Wamsley, who runs this Lifestyle Unlimited, which is an amazing organization. I was a member for a while. They're real estate investors, and this guy is really good at what he does. And he brags, well, I retired when I was 34. Well, he's not retired because of the fact that if I emailed Del this morning, and it's not like I have his personal email address. He gives his email address out on the air. He's on both 97.1 and 104.9.
Lunatic.
What's that?
I said, what a lunatic. Who gives their contact information out on the air?
Yeah, by the way, my phone number is 314-280-8880. You can text me anytime. Okay, if I email him this morning at 9 o'clock, I guarantee you I will get an email back from him. And not because it's me, he does this with everybody. So now he's running a business, but he says he's retired. He's not retired. And the reason he's so sharp is because this is what he does all day long. He mentors people, and what he gets satisfaction out of, he talks about this all the time. The reason he started this organization was to help people to become real estate independent. To me, essentially buy rental homes and apartment complexes and things like that, and essentially to have the feeling that you don't have to go to work, you don't have to punch a time clock, as John would say, I don't have to show up and open up Outlook every morning, right?
Yeah, what a depressing state of affairs.
Right, okay, off with that. A couple things to talk about before we end the show this morning, okay? I thought this was interesting. Kim Foxx. Does the name ring a bell? The Soros-backed DA in Chicago, who is
okay, yeah, okay.
The Jussie Smollett case and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Her law license expired December 1st. Is this bizarre or what?
You're kidding me.
No,
I didn't know that.
It's a big story, and she claims it's a clerical error, but the state says the reason her law license expired, actually they didn't expire it. Her license was terminated. I guess she can get it back because she didn't have her continuing education. There are a lot of professions where you get a license from the state where you have to have continuing education. I believe real estate is one of them, and I know law is one of them because my daughter's an attorney and she's got to go. And what a lot of times they do is talk about, there's organizations that will put on continuing education for attorneys, and it's really sort of a scam for them to sell you something. Hey, and by the way, thanks for coming to learning more about, wills and testament. And by the way, we have this great software product that you can, and sometimes they go down to Lake of the Ozarks and they spend a weekend, stuff like that kind of stuff. Okay, so it starts interesting. She claims it's a clerical error, but the state says, nope, they've notified her. She has not done what she's supposed to do. So as of December 1st, her law license has been terminated in the state of Illinois. She's no longer the DA in Cook County. There's somebody else. But I thought that was sort of interesting. Okay, that's number one. Number two is American Airlines ends DEI hiring. Do you know about this story?
No, I hadn't heard this.
Okay, this is what's fascinating to me, because if you read this article, there's a group called America Legal First, and they essentially challenged American Airlines, essentially saying that the DEI program that American Airlines had instituted was discriminatory, and they were going to file suit against them as far as the get rid of this policy. So guess what? The American Airlines company got rid of the policy. They don't have DEI anymore because they essentially agreed with this organization saying like, yeah, we agree with that. It really wasn't, and see, this is starting to happen with all these different companies that they're going like, okay, maybe we should be more concerned about who's the best person for this job rather than saying, well, who's the most qualified minority candidate? You know what I'm saying?
I do. And I think we should still be cautious about the fact that I'm sure in the HR department at American Airlines, they employ a lot of people who are still seeking to recruit from Black and other minority backgrounds. What will American Airlines call DEI hiring now?
Well, here's interesting. This company, this organization, this was the America First Legal Foundation, and this is a letter they received back from U.S. Department of Labor, and I'll just read a couple things. The letter confirms the following commitments. American Airlines understands that OFCCP regulations do not permit quotas, preferences, or set-asides, which is what DEI has. Number two, American Airlines agrees that placement goals, utilization goals, and hiring benchmarks are not to be interpreted as a ceiling or floor for employment of particular groups of persons. And number three, American Airlines will assess the employment practices and take appropriate measures to address identified problem areas and remedy any unlawful discrimination. Essentially, this is the Department of Labor who essentially wrote this letter to this organization, essentially saying American Airlines is complying with your request, that essentially throwing out the DEI thing. But like you say, it's secretly still there in the state of Missouri, correct?
Well, yeah. And so I would look at any corporation, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about government, public entities or private entities. My sneaking suspicion is that people in those programs have had meetings for at least a year. If you're smart, you look ahead and you say, there's a big backlash against DEI. What can we call this? And instead of having our own DEI unit, can we make sure that the HR person embedded in every division of our organization prioritizes hiring people from minority backgrounds? And then that way we can say we eliminated the DEI office, nothing to see here.
I guess you just, in other words, it's like rebranding, right? You just change the name.
Yeah. And DEI has been hurt so much as a brand that it's going to be called something else, like, opportunity outreach or whatever, that doesn't smell like DEI.
Okay. Last but not least, you being a corporate guy, interpret this for me. I read this story and I thought to myself, okay, I don't get it. What's the catch? The story is, the headline is, Frontier Airlines announces annual pass for unlimited flights priced at $299. For $299, you can fly wherever you want. Matter of fact, there's announced it's called an all-you-can-fly pass, giving travelers unlimited flights to go wild, visiting both domestic and international destinations. The airline, headquartered in Denver, Colorado, made the limited-time offer available for $299 per year, automatically renewing at $699, according to Frontier's website. And according to the website, it says, the Go Wild Pass is perfect for spontaneous adventures, budget-savvy travelers, and anyone dreaming of limitless journeys. How in the world are they going to able to do this? I mean...
Well, go ahead, Brent.
I mean, we talk about retired people. There's probably 14 million retired people going to say, hey, honey, we can go anywhere for $600 for both of us. We can fly anywhere we want for the whole year.
Yeah, I would say that if you're a business and you're a smart business person or a smart business company and you look at this model and you say, let's say I was running a small radio station that needed some advertising. Maybe, Brad, and you know way more about this than I do, but maybe I would offer a reasonable price early on, and just to get as much cash as I could before the end of the fiscal year, and then say, well, we don't know how many people will take advantage of our ads. We don't know if they'll actually send their ads over. But let's get the cash in hand right now, and then over the next couple fiscal quarters, we'll figure out what our next promotion is going to be, as long as we have cash flow.
But there's
and you know this better than anybody, Brad, right?
But there's one problem with this, John, is that right now, talk to anybody who's flying lately, and they'll tell you that all the planes are full. So maybe this is their thing. They essentially say, it's, here, I read a little bit further. This might be the catch.
But what you're saying is good luck getting, they're selling it, and then good luck actually getting on a flight.
Yes, exactly.
So what's wrong with that?
It would be sort of like if Red Lobster got in trouble with this, with the all-you-can-eat shrimp, and you go there and you buy the all-you-eat shrimp, and you pay for the all-you-can-eat shrimp, and then you go there to Red Lobster, and they go, I'm sorry, we're out of shrimp tonight.
They're out, yeah.
It's like, well, what? Where's my maybe we'll get some shrimp in tomorrow.
That's a great point, Brad. I mean, maybe that is the point of what they're doing. I assume that it would be old people would sign up, like you say, oldsters would sign up and then forget, or they think that they're going to go to, they think they're going to go to the West Coast in February, but Harold has to get his hip replaced, so they can't do it. And then they end up just not using their flights.
So you think this is like the gym membership kind of thing where everybody signs up for the gym and nobody goes?
Yeah. So good luck. Good luck getting a treadmill the 1st of January, and then by first week of February, you got the place to yourself.
Right. You can fire a cannon off the place, not anybody. Well, maybe that's the thing. American Airlines did this years ago. I don't know if you remember this, and they did this years ago, and they talked about it was one of the worst mistakes they ever made because of the fact that they actually were trying to buy back some of these passes. They were offering some of these people.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I'll send you the story. And that's pretty. I think it was American Airlines. Pretty interesting story where they had a deal, and it wasn't cheap. It was like I just want to say it was like $30,000 or $40,000. So these people had money. Hey, well, that's no big deal. And I think it was lifetime. I think that was the deal. There was no end date.
That sounds like a terrible deal.
As long as you were breathing, you could fly anywhere you want. And essentially, I think it would. I'll dig up the story on that because it was a fascinating story that and I don't know if maybe it was like you're saying, maybe they would want to get cash flow or stuff like that. But I just don't.
I think it was Southwest because Herb Keller quit it because he was so tired of putting all those bags onto the fuselage.
On Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day.
Yeah, he was so tired of it, Brad, that he's just like, we got to cancel this promotion. I want a day off. I want to be in the office for once.
Which John says.
Instead of being a hero to Brad Hildebrand.
He was my hero. I mean, my favorite, when you used to get on the airlines, you walk on the jetway, and my favorite one, they had a picture of him with his shirt sleeve rolled up, and he had a tattoo on his bicep that it said, "Born to ship,"
Oh, nice. I love the fact that in a couple years, we're going to see a deathbed confession from a Southwest Airlines PR person that says, we shot 7 years of pictures and video in one afternoon, and we had fake snow and we had fake heat, and we did it all in one day, and Herb spent the rest of his time on an island.
Reading the book and knowing people that knew Herb, and believe it or not, I know 2 people that knew Herb personally, I don't think that was the case because he was a very driven guy who was very, very, very completely up to his earlobes in the running the airline, and felt very, very serious about having a culture that both the passengers and the employees would embrace. And unfortunately, I think that's slowly but surely fading away. But what do I know? And the answer to that is not much.
I'd want more anecdotes, but I'm driving to the Kirkpatrick building. I have a license plate that's all letter J's, and I get pulled over all the time. I don't know why. So I got to go renew that, Brad. And then I might drive to the state capitol in California, too, to renew my plates over there, too.
Will you pick up that title in Oklahoma City for me? And
I will. Okay. I'll go to the Murrah building for you.
Yeah, which is gone. Very sad. Okay, John, say goodbye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?